Hi, this is Jacob from Guadalupe Custom Strings. This is the first in a series of videos we're going to be making to promote our products, but mostly to educate people on all kinds of string related issues, including how to put on their strings, how to choose the appropriate strings for your instrument, and so on. So we hope you tune in, share our videos, and we hope you enjoy them. So one of the most common questions I get from customers, especially guitarrón and bajo quinto players, is what metal should I choose for my instrument? And they're all great. We all make them by hand. We go through the same process. It's not that one material is better than another, but there may be a certain material that may work better with your instrument than another material. And that will be based on the actual density of the material itself and certain properties that the material has. So we're going to talk about some of that today. We're going to start with silver. Silver is very common. I think probably for guitarrón, it's our best seller, silver copper strings. It's got a beautiful sound. The material itself, if you feel it, it's softer than the other materials. I think even the brightness of the material itself is reflected in the sound, and it's really a bestseller. Because it's also a very soft material, we don't use it for bajo quinto because it would wear down quickly, but it's great for guitarrón, and it's fantastic for classical guitar. Next off, we have brass. It's also a big seller for guitarrón, for bajo quinto, and lately I've been recommending it for classical guitar if you're playing like with a mariachi group. The silver sounds beautiful, it's great, but because it's so soft, it wears down a little quickly, and especially if you're playing with a pick and a lot of heavy strumming, you might want to try the brass. It's going to last a lot longer for your gigs. Brass also has kind of a brighter tone a little bit than silver, and for acoustic, bajo quinto, bajo sexto playing, it really sounds great. It also works pretty well with a pickup. So that's our brass or latón strings, and they come in several variations. Next up on the list, and in brightness also, is bronze. Bronze is even brighter than brass. It's also kind of hard, and when you feel it, it's a little harder. It's harder than the silver. We recommend it for bajo quinto if you play acoustically. Unfortunately, the bronze really doesn't work that well with magnetic pickups. So I wouldn't use it if you play, if you're going to be plugging in and on stage. Maybe the nickel's really good for that, but the bronze sounds great acoustically for bajo quinto, bajo sexto, and it also sounds great on guitarrón. It brings out the high tones in your guitarrón, and it's another big seller. Next on the list, we have copper. Copper we only use at our shop for guitarrón, and originally, guitarrón strings were made from copper because of all the copper that was available in central Mexico. So traditional old recordings are done with copper strings, and especially a lot of the older guys like to use copper strings. It does have one drawback because it's copper. Depending on the pH in your skin, you may turn the copper purple or green, or it may stain your fingers. That's not because of the copper, that's actually because of your pH and your sweat. For example, I don't make copper strings because I just destroy them. They look if I make a copper string, it'll look rusted at the end of the day. So Albert makes all of our copper. I try really not even to touch it too much. But some people don't have that problem, and some people swear by this. This is all that they use. And it really is a nice sound. Unfortunately, I can't touch it too much. But it's a great sound, and if you want really a traditional old sounding old sound out of your guitarrón, copper is really the tradition. Nickel is wonderful for bajo quinto especially. It works great with magnetic pickups. It's super good for most bajo quinto playing, especially if you're on stage or if you're playing a lot. This is most of the time what I would recommend. Nickel is a hard material, much harder when you compare it to something like silver. It has a lot of the bassy, sort of square sounding tones to it. So it brings a lot of the low out. It doesn't ever rust. It just goes forever. It lasts forever. So it's not bright like bronze or anything, but it has these dark, low tones, and it really lasts a long time. So for a lot of, we don't have them for guitarrón. It doesn't work that well with guitarrón. So we have it available for bajo quinto, for instruments like the huapanguera, and a handful of other instruments. It's a great option. It lasts a long time. It doesn't rust, and it's worth trying out. Nickel plated still. Red copper. Red copper we use for guitarrón and bajo quinto. For your guitarrón, it brings out, or bajo quinto, it brings out the very low and cuts down kind of on the mid overtones. It's red copper, so it's copper plated with a red plastic around it, a thin red covering, and that plastic, I think, is what kind of mellows out the tone. It's not bright like bronze, but it's very warm and bassy, and people like also the look of it. Sometimes it became very popular for bajo quinto, so it's another option we have available for our bass instruments like guitarrón and bajo quinto, bajo sexto. This is red copper. So one thing you should know about all our materials: when you buy copper, it's real copper, it's pure copper. The bronze is bronze, the brass is real brass. Our silvered copper is copper plated with silver. It's actual silver. It's expensive, so it's important to take care of your strings. Keep your hands clean when you're playing. You can clean your strings also with a jewelry cleaner or alcohol. It'll help to bring the shine back, just like you would any piece of jewelry. You can even boil them if you're in a situation and you need to use your strings, an old set of strings or whatever. So it's real authentic materials that we're using here.